Have you ever looked in the mirror and heard a quiet whisper of regret? It is that subtle, nagging feeling that perhaps you missed the boat because you did not start building your wealth in your 20s. Society has spent years planting a dangerous idea in our heads. They tell us that if you did not start early, or if you did not begin investing when you were young and broke, you might as well give up now. But as we stand here in 2026, I want to tell you something very important. That idea is not just wrong, it is actually a direct threat to your future. At 40, 50, or even 60, you possess something a 20-year-old can only dream of. You have wisdom, you have experience, and you have perspective. You have seen the world change, you have seen markets rise and fall, and you have learned hard lessons. Those lessons are not baggage, they are your greatest competitive advantage. There is an old proverb that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today." This truth applies to your money, your success, and your peace of mind. If you did not start at 20, stop beating yourself up. If you did not start at 30, stop living in the past. Regret has never grown a single dollar of wealth, but decisions and actions do. Today, we are going to look at 10 timeless principles that are not about chasing quick riches or gambling on the latest trend. These principles are about building steady, lasting wealth using the maturity you have right now. If you are ready to stop looking back and start planting your tree, then let us begin this journey together. Let us look at the reality of where most people stand today. According to the latest data from the Federal Reserve, the typical household approaching retirement has about $200,000 saved. That might sound like a lot of money to some, but when you look closer, the picture changes. In 2026, $200,000 only generates about $800 of monthly income if you follow a conservative withdrawal plan. Most people rely on Social Security as their backbone, which provides approximately $2,000 per month. When you add those together, you are looking at a life that is stable, but certainly not luxurious. The reason most people reach their 60s with such small balances is not always because they did not earn enough. It is because they never learned how to patch the holes in their financial bucket. Imagine a man who walks to the well every day carrying a bucket with a hole in the bottom. He works harder than anyone else, fetching water from dawn until dusk. But by the time he gets home, the bucket is almost empty. He complains about his luck and blames the well, but his neighbor tells him to stop. Before you fetch more water, you must patch the hole first. This is the first ancient principle. Pay yourself first. Most people receive their paycheck and immediately pay the landlord, the electric company, and the grocery store. They wait until the end of the month to see if there is anything left for their future. Usually there is nothing left because life expands to consume whatever income you have. At 40 or 50, you might feel like you cannot afford to save because your bills are too heavy. But the truth is, if you do not remove a small percentage before you spend a single cent, you will never have a surplus. Start this month by setting aside just 5 or 10%. Set up an automatic transfer on the day your paycheck arrives. You will find that after 2 months, you will adjust your lifestyle to live on what remains. Suddenly, for the first time, your money will be accumulating instead of evaporating. Income without discipline is simply a bucket with holes. The second principle is what I call the sharpener saw investment. Imagine 2 men tasked with cutting down a massive tree. The first man grabs his saw and immediately starts hacking away with all his might. He sweats, he pushes, and he exhausts himself, but he barely makes a dent. The second man spends the first hour sitting quietly, sharpening his saw blade. When he finally starts cutting, he moves smoothly and efficiently, finishing the job in half the time. At this stage of your life, you are the saw. Your skill. If you try to succeed with dull tools, you will wear yourself out for minimal results. The marketplace does not pay for hours worked. It pays for value created. If you want more income, you must become more valuable. In 2026, that means learning one new skill that increases your worth, whether it is digital marketing, public speaking, or a technical certification. Pick one and master it. A small investment in your own education can yield a return that no stock market can match. The third principle is to reframe your age as your greatest weapon. Many people see their age as a liability, but that is a mistake. A 20-year-old has more time for money to grow, but they also have more time to make foolish mistakes. They chase hot tips, they fall for scams, and they lack the discipline to stay consistent. You have felt the consequences of poor financial choices in the past, and that perspective is priceless. It helps you avoid the traps that your younger self fell into constantly. Wisdom is the ultimate shield for your wealth. A late start with wisdom will always beat an early start with foolishness. The fourth principle is to eliminate the chains of debt. Imagine a traveler who carries a 100-pound chain everywhere he goes. He thinks the chain provides security, but a wise elder tells him the truth. That security chain has become a slavery chain. Debt is exactly like that. Every monthly payment you make is energy flowing away from your future and into the pockets of a bank. Credit card balances that fund a lifestyle you cannot afford are simply slavery, disguised as freedom. The money you were sending to interest can now be directed toward your own freedom. The fifth principle is to embrace the wisdom of protection and diversification. There is a story of a farmer who planted his entire field with only one crop, because it was the most profitable. When a specific disease hit that crop, he lost everything in a single season. His neighbor, however, had planted wheat, corn, and beans in different fields. When the wheat died, the corn and beans still provided for his family. Do not gamble your entire future on one single investment, no matter how exciting it sounds. Reliability is what allows you to sleep at night. Spread your resources across index funds, retirement accounts, and perhaps real estate that you actually understand. Excitement often loses money, but boring investments protect it. The sixth principle is to respect the slow magic of compounding. Think of a tiny snowball rolling down a long, snowy hill. At first, it gathers very little snow and seems insignificant, but as it keeps rolling, it picks up more and more with every rotation. By the time it reaches the bottom, it is an unstoppable avalanche. Compounding does not care what age you are when you start. It only cares that you stay consistent. A dollar saved today may not grow as tall as one saved 20 years ago, but it still grows. Small actions taken over a long period of time produce massive results. The seventh principle is the law of the first 3 steps. Many people spend years studying every possible route up a mountain, but they never actually start climbing. They are waiting for the perfect weather and the perfect map. Analysis without action is just procrastination in a fancy costume. At this stage, you do not need a perfect plan. You need movement. In the next 30 days, I want you to take 3 specific actions. First, track every single dollar that leaves your hand. You cannot change what you do not measure. Second, automate your savings so you do not have to think about it. Third, spend time learning the basics of one simple investment vehicle, like an index fund. Perfect is the enemy of good, and good action today beats perfect planning that never happens. The eighth principle is to destroy the invisible walls in your mind. There is a story of a circus elephant tied to a small wooden stake in the ground. The massive animal could easily uproot a tree, yet it never tries to break free. When it was a baby, that stake was strong enough to hold it. Now, even though the elephant is powerful, it still believes it is trapped. Many of us are held back by beliefs like, "I am too old," or "I do not understand money." These are imaginary stakes, not reality. You can break free at any time you choose. The ninth principle is the power of a written commitment. A builder who carries his plans in his head will eventually make a mistake. But a builder who refers to a detailed blueprint every day will finish his house perfectly. Goals that float around in your head are just dreams that will eventually evaporate. When you move a thought from your brain onto a piece of paper, it becomes a concrete target. Write down exactly what you want to achieve in the next 6 months. Be specific with your numbers and your dates. A written blueprint materializes while a mental plan disappears. The 10th and final principle is the philosophy of the second tree. We return to our starting point. Imagine a garden with 2 trees. One was planted 20 years ago and is now tall and strong. The older tree provides more shade, but the second tree will still provide fruit and value. Without that second tree, the spot remains empty and barren. You cannot plant yesterday's tree. You can only plant today's tree to become tomorrow's shade. The best time was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now, in this very moment. There is no third best time. If you do not plant today, you will have the same regret at 60 that you have now. The weight of regret only gets heavier as time passes. I want you to pick up a notebook and write these words. I am starting today. Pick just one principle we discussed. Perhaps you will pay yourself first this month. Perhaps you will enroll in a course to sharpen your saw. One principle fully implemented creates more change than 10 principles you only think about. Your future self is watching what you decide right now. Do not let them down. Thank you for being here with me today. In our next discussion, we will explore the 7 most common money mistakes people make after 50. But for now, stop reading, stop worrying, and start planting. I will see you in the next one.